Jazzcast Pros.
Good afternoon, my graceful grinders. This is your girl, Dr. Pamala Brown-Grinion, President and CEO of Totally Unique Educational Consultants. And welcome to this episode, I think 16 of the Grace and Grind podcast. And today I have one of my good friends. I call her my twin. Her name is Mone Barkley, and she is going to be talking with us today about multitasking and getting it all done as a single mother, because you have to.
You have to. You have no choice.
No choice. So
No choice.
Monet. I call her Moby, guys. So because this is my girl, I'm just going to call her Moby.
You can call me Moby.
All right, Moby.
Hey, twin. Good afternoon, everybody.
Yes, I'm so glad that you're here today. Thank you so much for this.
You're very welcome.
Answering this last minute request. I appreciate it.
Of course.
All right, so we're going to be talking about how do you get it all done with everything that you do, being in a sorority, being in clubs, being on committees, working full time, being a mom, everything else that goes in with lifing in your circle. How do you manage?
So, you said, how do I manage? And so I think the question or the statement becomes manage successfully, right? Because we can all manage.
Correct.
I think, we all manage, but how do we manage successfully? And I think part of how I'm able to be successful is, one, I try to build teams and delegate some things. But I am a hands-on kind of person too. I will get in and roll up my sleeves and work with you. But it's because I typically pick things that I have a passion about. So that makes it all manageable for me. And some of the strategies that I invoke really are around chunking my time. I put everything on my calendar. There is nothing that's not on my calendar. If it's not on my calendar, it's not going to happen, and it didn't happen. Like, this is on my calendar. Like, I had to put it in for 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock and say, this is what we're doing, or 11 o'clock, to make sure that I showed up, because I could have been doing 50 other things, because there's always something else to do you are in positions of leadership and you are a single mom, because then you have a teenager, I have a 16-year-old that likes to tell me at the last minute that he wants to do X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. And so I told him he's going to have to get on my calendar nowadays too. But of course he doesn't listen. And so I have to make myself available to him. But I do try to keep a calendar, a family calendar. I keep everything in my Google calendar, just anything that comes through. And Google is very helpful too, in that it has some systems to put things on your calendar.
Yes, I absolutely love it. I heard someone say one time, if you want to get something done, get somebody busy to do it. How do you feel about that statement? Because it sounds like, girl, I understand though. I understand.
Because you're everywhere, every place too.
I see you there. I see
you. And you see me there. And so you're absolutely right. The people that are busy have, like I said, there's a drive inside of them. And I think God gives different people different talents. Mm-hmm. And so when you see somebody like that out there, like, that is nothing but the grace of God. He's given them an extra energy pack to put on their back to be able to withstand all the trials, all the tribulations, all the extra work that gets thrown their way, all the asks. But I also, as I age, I turned 55 this year, am learning the power of no. It's hard for me because I am a yes person, because I feel on some levels, if I don't do it, it won't get done, or it won't get done right. And so it might get done, but it's janky. And if I wasn't there at the beginning, then I'm helping to clean up, which is more work and stress for me. So I choose and prioritize my yeses, and I am now standing strong on my no's.
Now, I just got to piggyback off of that, Moby, because I could have said that exactly the same way, right? Exactly the same way.
That's why we're twins.
That's right. And you do have to know how to say no. And I just adopted this about, I would say, in the past, 5 years, where if I'm not passionate about it, I'm not doing it. And people do recognize that Pam is going to do it. It's going to be done with excellence. It's going to be done when it's going to be done. It's going to exceed my expectations, right? And so people come to me like they come to you all the time. Can you? And, at one point in my life, I was burnt out. And it wasn't for my stuff. Like my stuff it wasn't even a tenth. And I was like, what are you doing? So I pulled back and I got off some stuff and I said, I can't, I didn't have the capacity. So instead of saying no to people, this is what I say. I'm sorry. I just don't have the capacity for that right now. And
And
either
I
they get it
also,
or they don't.
and the other thing that you can add to, I think you can add to that, and I've done, it's like, not this time, but please keep me in mind the next time you're doing something similar to this.
Wonderful. I'm going
And
to add that.
yes, and it really works because maybe you're not available for this thing, but you are available the next time. So please
Yeah.
don't exclude me,
Right.
because I do see the value in what you're doing. I just have other things that are a priority right now. And
Right.
on the flip side of that, there was a recent situation where I said yes to something and I was not prepared to say yes, but I didn't want to let them down. And I knew I shouldn't have said yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't my best. Like, I was able to fix it, but in the
Mm-hmm.
moment, it was not my best,
Mm-hmm.
because I really shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have taken something that normally is a day and a half and said yes to something that got turned into an hour and a half. Because you just can't do that.
Right.
I didn't know that it was going to be an hour and a half. I thought it was
Right.
going to be 3 hours.
Right.
And then it was like, oh, it's an hour and a half. And then I'm trying to do it. And it really wasn't
Yeah.
my standard. And I
Yeah.
felt embarrassed.
Yeah.
So
I understand that, because you only have so much, right, that you can give. You only have so much. And you know what I realized also is that when I tell people that, like when I give them a gentle decline in their request, they don't like it because they're surprised because they're used to getting, okay, yes,
yes.
when and how,
Mhm.
and okay, what, and when I say, I'm sorry, I don't have the capacity for that right now, I'm going to start adding what you said to it as well. But keep me in mind for next time, right? Just, I can't right now. I found that people figure out their stuff. All this time I was thinking, if I don't do it, it won't get done. People figure it out.
They do. And it may not be exactly how you wanted it to be, but it was what they wanted. And that's okay too.
That is so okay.
That
So
is okay.
great. So summing up, you said that you have to kind of be strategic. You have to have a calendar. You have to delegate. You have to have systems in place. I love all of that. So tell us about, what was one of the most difficult times in your life, right? You're going through, life is life and you can't stop it. You got your single motherhood going on. You got your deltas going on. You got your committees and clubs going on. You got this and that going on. You got,
Trustee going
yeah,
on, chair,
exactly.
second
How do
VP.
you,
Yeah.
like, tell us about that time and how did you navigate through that? Because you couldn't drop the ball. Life had to keep on going. You had to keep managing all systems, all delegating and everything else, all committees. Nothing could be dropped. Tell us about that time. And then how did you manage that successfully?
So, I'm the kind of person, I'm used to doing a lot of things by myself. But one of the most recent things, I think two things really come to mind. One was my mother's death in 2010. But the story that I'll probably share is the more recent one that just happened like a month ago. I was in a difficult spot with a partner, and then my teenager was like, I don't know if I want to be a scholar or if I want to be a bum for the rest of my life, and maybe even like end it all. And, that's a lot that I'm sharing here, and it's sensitive, but I think it's important to share. And then you still have to do work. I travel for work and then still have my other obligations. And so I had to be honest. It started with being honest with myself. Where can I make some pivots, some changes? And one of them was, okay, my baby comes first. His mental health comes first. So let me get him some help. Like, I stopped doing what I was doing. I was working in Buffalo that day. I drove back. What time are you out of school? He becomes a priority. I informed my manager. And I think when you start to share and be honest, some people will give you grace.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did it mean that I didn't have to follow up on all the things that I left? No. But in sharing that, hey, I have an emergency, I have something to do, communicating fully allowed me that space and that time. And then the next day I was back at work, but I try to put systems in place. So made appointments for him, made sure that he and I were spending more quality time to have conversations. I took him to a program called Doc and Dialogue, run by Breathe Deep, which actually helps a lot of teenagers with mental health.
Great program.
Yeah, it's a great program, and he's actually a peer ambassador. But sometimes I think even those that are helping others need help, And so I was really fortunate that he shared with me what he was going through, but I made sure his primary care physician knew, etc. And then in terms of the partnership, I said, this is what's going on. Let me look and take care of this later because I need to take care of this first. And so I think it's all about communicating, setting expectations, and then making sure that if you set that expectation that you actually follow up.
That's wonderful. First of all, thank you for sharing that because that is sensitive. And wow, you know, like that's a lot, right? And I could see where it could be easy to drop the ball with just your baby alone and say, hey, I gotta take like 5 steps back, which means, I can't be here. But you did it. You still did everything that was required. I do like that you said communicating, because a lot of times we think, I want to tell people my business, but sometimes you got to tell your business, right? Especially if you're in a predicament or a situation where you need some assistance or you do need that grace, and it's surprising sometimes that people will extend grace, right? But a lot of us are used to people not, and so we hold things because that's what that's a part of our community. We don't air out our we don't.
The next week I was on a plane,
Right.
and the next weeks after that I was on a plane.
You know what I'm saying? So
got to do what I got to do.
You got to do what you got to do.
But you got to put things in place so that none of the balls get dropped.
Right.
Because it's very easy when you have something like that happen.
Yeah.
To drop something.
Yeah.
Whether for me it's never going to be him.
Yeah.
But work or whatever. And it's the end of the year. I'm in sales and there's no dropping the ball at the end of the year. That's the full court press. That's full court press.
Listen, full court press. All right. And while you're pressing, the other team has defense like a mug up going on, right?
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah. So I get it. And I do understand when you're saying you can't drop the ball, because I had a similar situation when my mom was terminally ill, and I had to be bedside. I wanted to be bedside, and I had so many obligations, and I was in the middle of the end of my doctoral degree, and I know my mother would not have wanted me to stop, and I was just getting ready to start my research, and I had my dear friend on the phone, Beth Pringle, on Zoom, and we were talking. And I kept seeing my sister's number. I'm looking at the phone. I had gone to the hospital and did my goodbyes with mommy. I knew this was it. But I knew she would want me to keep going. And I had this schedule, and I said, no, I got to keep going. And my sister kept calling. And I guess my facial expression changed. How could it not, right? When someone's calling to tell you mommy's gone. And so Bev said to me, what just happened? Like that, because she knows me. And I said, that was Sandy calling, tell me that mommy passed away. And she said, oh, no, you need to go. And I was like, no, I need to do this. I need to do this. Right. And I couldn't stop anything. Everything that I was doing, I had to do. I did clean my plate up a little bit prior to, trying to write, work on my dissertation. But yeah, when life is lifing and it's calling.
And might I add, one of the best defenses St. John Fisher has ever seen.
Thank you.
Ever seen.
It was good. It was
but
good.
That is the testament again to God as well. Like, like diamonds under pressure, right? Mm-hmm. Like, yeah. And I think just as Black women, we are in a unique space that we are expected to do it all, especially if you're single, because if we don't, who will?
Right.
And so you just have to keep going. But we also have to be mindful to rest. Right. And that's the challenge.
Yeah.
Challenging part.
Yeah.
Is just to lay down. There was a meme that was going around on TikTok or Instagram or something, and this little girl, if she's singing, I want to go lay down. And it just tickles me every time because I'm like, I want to go lay down. I want to take a nap, but I can't right now. I'm like, I'll sleep when I die. Right.
Yeah.
It's the saying. So.
Yeah. Because stuff has to get done. Right.
Yeah. And I really believe that I was put here to make, a small dent. I can't change the world, but I definitely want to leave the world a little better than I found it, if it's in my purview, if it's under my control.
Mm-hmm. So when you're feeling overwhelmed, when you're in these situations, I know with me, I have a lot of emotions that stir, that just kind of can take me out, because it feels like a python literally is wrapped around my body, and I can't move, I can't think, I can't do. And it's so much, I don't know what to do first. And so sometimes I stand still, I just stop, which is not good because sometimes the stops are way too long. But it's happening so rapidly and in quick successions, and it's like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And my emotions become really overwhelmed. How do you handle your emotions when you're in this type of, you can't drop anything? You want to drop everything, but you know that you can't.
You can't.
How do you handle your emotions?
And so I handle my emotions better than I used to. Again, like I am a suppressor. I would push it all down. Now I will talk to those that I are consider my confidants and a therapist. I will pray. Like, I might go to church. I might not go to church, but in seasons where it's really, really crazy, I know that I need to talk to God and I need to hear some praise and worship music. Like my music selections change, right? Like, not that I'm not playing that anyway, because I sing on the gospel choir too, but I'm playing those things. But I noticed that I increase the things that make me feel better, that make me feel good. And I try to decrease those that I know, give me anxiety or, make me want to choke somebody out. So it's the prayer, it's the music, it's the talking to the friends, it's talking to the therapist, it's doing those things that I find pleasure in. Like if you got a to-do list, do the things that are going to give you that quick, yeah, I was successful, I was triumphant, to give you the momentum to keep doing the things that may be more difficult. And then if you need to, go ahead and dance it out, scream it out, cuss it out. If you need to.
If you need to, right? I was having one of those moments yesterday, and I called my little sister, Winnie, and I said, "Hey, Winona, I always got a nickname. If I love you, you got a nickname, okay? If you don't have one, it doesn't mean I don't love you. It just means it hasn't come to me yet, right? So, anyways, just that little disclaimer, because people be
disclaimer, like, they won't be calling you.
Yeah, right. So just relax. So I called Winona, and I was like, "Hey," we were just talking, and she said to me, I said to her, "Yeah, I feel like I can work a little harder though," because she was saying she was proud of me or whatever, and I was like, "Yeah, I feel like I could work a little harder." And she was like, "No, you're being too hard on yourself." I was like, "No." I said, sometimes being talented in multiple things is a blessing and a curse. And boy, and I was explaining to her that sometimes when I said I'd be still, I'm still because I know I can figure it out and I can figure things out quickly. And so sometimes I pause longer than I should, right? But I recover quickly too. But I was still having a little bit of imposter syndrome because there were some reasons why I stopped, right? And so she just started to pour into me and say, no, like, how many people you've inspired? Do you know how far you've come? Just think about when you were on Portage Street to now and all the things that you pushed, that you wanted, and you made them happen. Like, no, you don't get to do that. Like, and then,
nope.
You don't, right? She said, no, you've grown, you've changed, you've done, you're doing. Like, no, the devil does not get to rain on your parade. And I was like, you know what? I really needed that dose of that. And I started thinking about one of my favorite sermons by Dr. Jasmine Scullark, and she was talking about David and Goliath and how sometimes you have to just encourage yourself and recall your past victories. And I was in a moment where I'm like, I teach this. So I told her, yeah, you just totally unique me. Thank you for that. Because that's what I would have said to someone, right? But anyways, the sermon was talking about David and Goliath and how David had to tell his brothers and the rest of the army and the captains of the army and Goliath the things that he knew he could do and what was inside of him. So if I could do that, I know I could take you. You know what I'm saying? Like you nothing. I killed the lion and the bear. I'm not scared of you. You know what I'm saying? Like you're nothing to me, right? And I think sometimes too, we have to, as Black women and as women as well, women in general, but like to your point earlier, we do have to do a little bit more. It's unfortunate, but those are just the facts. Sometimes because things are stacked against us so much, women in general, Black women in particular, things are stacked against us so much. Sometimes we start to believe them, even though we know they're not true, but that's imposter syndrome. That's what it is. Sometimes we have to dig down deep. And this is what I tell my little babies, into your ancestral. Like you got to tap into your ancestral Black girl magic, right? And you have to pull it up and go deep into your roots and say, I know what I know because I know what's in me and who's in me. And then connect that with the divine You know who you are because you're tapping into your ancestral Black girl magic, but you also know whose you are. And
Yeah.
you're a goddaughter. Like I'm a goddaughter. You're a goddaughter, right? And so when you're able to do that and remind yourself of, when I can tell myself, Pam, you've overcome many years of sexual abuse, and look at you. You've overcome 2 traumatic divorces, but look at you. You fought through to get your dissertation while going through brain surgery, but look at you. You understand what I'm
And
saying?
look at you and
Well,
look at God.
hello,
Mhm.
hello, hello. So yeah, we do have to give God all the honor and the glory, but we can't forget that we had to do the work, because faith without work
Is
is
dead.
dead, right? So we
It's
have
in our
to do the
DNA.
work.
It's so interesting that
It
you should say
is.
that. I just heard literally earlier today someone talk about all of your ancestors' hopes, dreams, and sorrows are
Mhm.
in your DNA.
It is. It
And
is.
so, again, it's kind of like I said, you got to focus on those positive,
Mhm.
emphasize
Mhm.
the successes. Like, somebody who is in your ancestral lineage being enslaved. They survived the passage because
Right.
people didn't, right?
Right.
So there was something in them, even if they felt sorry, like, that, hey, I'm never going to see possibly my homeland again or my mother again, but I'm going to fight to live. And so that is really profound. I hadn't even thought of it that way.
Mhm.
And so this is confirmation that's twice in the same day
Mhm.
that I've heard that. And
Mhm.
I think
Mhm.
is definitely a type of magic. And,
It is.
when we say magic, Stevie Wonder, when he sings that song, if it's magic,
Right.
it really is just a euphemism for love. So
Right.
if it's Black girl love,
It
it's godly
is.
love,
I
it's
love it.
just love. Yeah.
Yeah. And that really, it may sound corny or quirky to some people, right? If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't, right? But I really, 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 when I am in when I tell you that was the thing that made me push through that doctoral degree, when I tell you I had to really actually researched ancestors so I can call names, honey. Okay. Like I'm tapping into. And I got that off of this one of my favorite little shows called Charmed. The 3 sister witches, and they would come, and they would always their ancestors would come. And
Yes. And
then
stand around. Yeah.
right. And then in Black Panther, when he went to the tribal land and all of the Black Panther kings were there, you know what I'm saying? And they were just all there. And that was that ancestral Black magic that we're rooted to, if we want to be or not. We're rooted to that. You know what I'm saying? The kings and the queens, we're rooted to that. If we acknowledge that in ourselves or not, it's in us. Right.
You
And
just gave me some more energy.
yeah, like for real.
Just give me
I
some
mean,
more
for
energy.
real. And those are the things that when I'm in front of these babies and I'm teaching and I tell them that if you want to have royalty running through your bloods or not, it doesn't matter because it's there, right? And so what you have to ask yourself is your behavior conducive to a descendant of a king or queen?
Ooh.
And then you answer that question, right? And if it's not, you fix it. And if it is, you make it better.
That's
Either way, you're growing.
yes.
Period, right? And that would eliminate, a lot of stuff. If we just get our head on straight, we would be able to multitask better.
Just having this conversation and thinking about, like great grandma, grandma, mom, and so on and so forth. It just gave me
A
I mean,
boost, right?
like my little shoulders,
Yeah,
felt a little
yeah,
different.
like what? Okay.
Tap on them.
Yes. Yes,
Tap on
but
them.
like for real. And I think if we can really, get our little Black babies to understand that. And some women too, some grown women too, to just pick it up, pick it up.
Yeah, I think everybody needs a theme song too. Like,
Yeah.
like I have theme songs for certain things that I need to get
Yeah.
done that encourage me.
Girl,
I
tell me
said
one.
some is gospel, some is not.
Girl, sing me
Uh,
one. Which one?
Living my life like I'm golden by
Ooh, living my life
ta-
like I'm golden.
taking back my freedom.
Yeah.
So like that kind of stuff. Or
Yes,
I'm
girl.
a
I love.
diva. I'm a diva. Like
Yeah,
those
I
kind of
love it.
things.
I love it.
Hmm.
I love it.
Have a theme
Oh,
song. Like
gotta
you're in a
have
movie.
it.
This is your movie. Have a theme song to
Yeah,
help you get it all done, all the multitasking, and play it
I
while you're in the
love
house
it.
cleaning. Remember, there was a thing about cleaning with music on a
Saturday
Saturday
morning with WDKX
to
is a
be able to get it
thing.
done.
It's
And
a thing.
people aren't listening to the radio like that because to get Spotify, this and the other, so they might only listen to it in the car. But there was something about turning on that music on Saturday morning to get things done.
Yeah,
There
but
was
not any music.
Yeah,
it had to be WDKX.
It was. You jamming.
You're jamming.
Jamaica funk.
Listen. Okay.
How can you not clean that kitchen and be jamming?
Jamaica funk. That's what it is.
Exactly. We so silly.
Right? No, but for real, and you call somebody and say, you listening to DKX? So they jamming right now, right?
Andre, you can cut us a check. We hadn't planned to say that at all. We hadn't planned to do anything.
Okay, promo. Okay. This is not a free PSA, just so you know.
Yeah, but that's, those are going back to what your original questions were about. What skills and strategies do I invoke? But that, like I said, that's definitely one of them. Mm-hmm. So yeah,
I love that.
And it's talking, like I said, talking. So look at, this is to me a conversation, right?
Yes,
like this is,
absolutely.
You're asking me questions, but I had no idea. And this is a conversation. It's girlfriends talking. And there's just something about that sister girl magic and surrounding yourself with positive women. And don't forget to check on your strong friends. Right. But surrounding yourself with people that are like-minded, that want to do like-minded things, that want to see you win, that want to win. I think that's also very helpful and helps me to be able to keep going.
Yes. And that check on your strong friends, yes, because sometimes we want to be weak and sometimes we are. Extend us the grace to be weak when we need to be. Right?
Yeah.
Because it's difficult being a pillar of strength. I just text somebody that this morning. I just text somebody that. Thank you.
I'm telling you, this is all confirmation.
For real.
This conversation. Thank you. This is how you know it's God's work. Because it's all boom, boom. Yeah. Keeps lining up.
For real. I just text somebody that. Thank you for sharpening my iron. Because it's so difficult to always be in a room and people pulling from your brain. Listen, I'm not an expert in anything. I mean, I'm not an expert in everything. Right? I'm an expert in what I know. But people expect you to be an expert in everything. I'm like, listen.
That's true. Like my one friend, she's like, no, they call you all the time because you always answer and you always have an answer. She's like, don't pick up. But I was like, I could,
not pick up.
You can't do it.
Right.
But it's also great to have people in my village, people like you, that's just a phone call, text, or a doorbell away.
Right next door. Come on over. Right next door.
A doorbell away to help get it all done. Like when I was out of town, I was like, can you go take my son to school? Because he done overslept.
Right. No, like when my sister cousin walked in your house thinking it was my house and going, Pammy, like that close away, right?
Like that close away.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for being here, Moby.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate you.
Hopefully, people get something out of this because I actually did, if nothing else, out of this.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. It was good. So just summarize the things that you said for us that we need to do.
So, like I said, I think one is to prioritize. You really have to prioritize. And then you have to strategize based on your priorities. So you have to be able to know when to delegate, when to do it yourself, chunk your calendar. Even my work calendar is chunked. Like, because people call me for whatever, internal customers, external customers, like I got to check, like this is blocked off on my calendar. This is what I'm doing. And so I do that in my personal life as well. Put it in Google, put it in your Apple calendar. If it didn't happen, it's not there, it didn't happen, it's not going to happen. And that way you don't forget to do stuff. And then talk to somebody, whether it's your girlfriends, God, the therapist. I don't even care if you talk to yourself, but encourage yourself, talk to somebody to make sure that you get it all done.
And get you a theme song.
And get you a theme. That is the last thing I said. Yeah, get you a theme song. And you should have a dance to go with that theme song.
Do it naturally.
Whoa. Yes.
Right.
Those four
things.
So
much, darling.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you so much.
I love you. I love you. I'm so proud of you.
Thank
you for being my friend. Thank you for encouraging me. Thank you for having me on today.
All right. My smooches.
Bye, darling.
Bye.